when you go around the stores, when you go around gardens at any show, they are judged and they're awarded medals. And it's quite a coup to getting a good class of medal. I mean, I say quite a coup, it's very, very prestigious. But the judging itself can often seem difficult to understand, and it'd be fascinating to hear your insights into what you're looking for, Bob. So I shall pass over to you, and you can enlighten us.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be here. I've been here since 6 o'clock this morning, so it was rather cold here at that time, I can tell you. What I just want to say, though, is I'm really pleased because I had this great worry that when I came in here, all the exhibitors who were not very pleased with their awards would be sat here with things to throw. Oh, look, here's one straight away. So I sort of have a little bit of fear and trepidation about coming along to talk about what judges see and how judges judge. First thing I would want to say is as you go around the show, you will see medals on people's displays that look like this. These are Royal Horticultural Society medals, and they're issued in all sorts of colours and sizes. Well, 4 to be precise. This is a bronze medal. That's not the lowest of what we issue, because if something isn't worth a medal at all, we don't even give a bronze medal. So a bronze medal. We then have a silver medal. We have a silver gilt medal. Gilt is spelled G-I-L-T, just in case you think, oh, the exhibitors are filling up in here. I knew it. So gilt is spelled G-I-L-T. And of course a gold medal, and the gold medal is the most coveted award in RHS terms. Now, when we judge at a show, and we may be in Cardiff today, in a couple of weeks we may be at Malvern, we will then be at Chelsea, we go to BBC Gardener's World, we go to Hampton Court. But when we judge to the same standard. So a gold medal at Cardiff show would be a gold medal at Chelsea, and that's very important to us that there is consistency across the board. And you might say, well, you don't really believe that, but it is very, very true. We have the same set of judging criteria. The judges carry the criteria around with them, which is set out on here. And when we judge, the judges often have to go back to the criteria to ask questions. I was with them this morning, and several times we had to go back and look at the criteria and say, does it actually do everything it says on the label or not? And if it doesn't, we have to start putting it to the test. There are some great awards being made in this show today, and I think that what you should do, I hope, when you go around, is look at the awards that the judges have made on the exhibits, and you might start asking yourself why the judges came to that conclusion. You could ask the exhibitor whether they feel that they had a justified medal. If it's not gold, probably most exhibitors will say they were robbed, weren't they, Pat? But every exhibitor strives so hard to get a gold medal, and it's very, very important that to them that's what they're trying to achieve. Now, judges do some funny things. We judge at the RHS in panels of 5, and in the panel of 5 there will always be an expert on the type of plant that they're judging. So although we are in mixed panels, for example on a woody panel you might have a bonsai judge, you might have somebody who is very, very good on shrubs, you have somebody who's very good on trees. So, but there will always be an expert covering that subject. And because we like judges to have the strength of mind to decide how they're going to judge, we judge on 3 different criteria. We judge on the quality of plants, we judge on the overall impression, and very controversially, we judge on something that's called endeavour. And every exhibit is voted 3 times. It's voted 3 times to decide which level that exhibit is at. And each judge has what we call a set of flashcards. And when we get to an exhibit, all the judges will talk about the exhibit, and all of the judges will first of all describe all the positive things about the plants, the quality of the plants, the choice of plants, how well the plants are grown. Are there any plants showing pests and disease? Are there any plants that are wrongly labelled? Are the plants really good strong specimens, or are they poor specimens? Once there's been a good discussion about the plants, competing judges are then asked to vote. And when they're asked to vote, it's like a sort of game of poker, without revealing to the other judges, they have to choose which of these flashcards they're going to show. And so when the chairman says, right, on plants, I'd like the judges to please vote, they have to have already chosen their card, and they put their card up. Now, their card choices are excellent, very good, good, satisfactory, or poor. So you have those 5 different choices. And what we then do, for quality of plants, we count the number of people who have voted according to which colour on here, the card to put down, and then we talk about overall impression, the overall impression of the stand, and that often is, does it have wow factor, has it been nicely finished, are there some unusual props, is there some element of the display which really is attractive, are the colours right, is it well balanced? And again the judges are asked to show their vote for overall impression. So again, the cards come out, and sometimes they're mixed. When they are shown, some of the panel of 5 will have different, will have a different colour to the other judges, but we have to go by the majority, and on 5 judges, they could all show, if they all showed the same or a different card out of the 5 colours, we would be in trouble. But actually it doesn't happen like that. Mostly the judges pretty much show either all the same colour, or they might just be one different. We then move on to what we call endeavour. Now this is always controversial with exhibitors, isn't it? Exhibitors. Always controversial, because it's really the judge's view about the difficulty that there has been in assembling that display. And there's been a lot of talk about that today. Judging took longer this morning than it usually does, because we had a lot of discussion about endeavour. We had to think, it's been so cold. Exhibitors have had a hard job getting plants in flower. Exhibitors have had a real job bringing on good quality plants because of the cold. There's been a lack of light. It's been very difficult to get the quality without the light, and without putting a lot of heat on the plants in some cases. And the judges need to make a view about how much the exhibitor has had to do to coordinate and pull together that display. Now, sometimes the judges don't know, because it's very difficult for judges to be fully informed about what every exhibitor has to do. So we invite exhibitors to send us a little line. They're allowed to use 60 words to tell us about some of the difficulties they have had with their displays. And for example, at this show, several exhibitors have said we would normally have 300 plants to choose from. Today, because of the weather, we have only had 30 to choose from. And therefore, the quality of what we put on our stand has been a struggle, and we accept it's been a struggle. So it's quite hard, and so the judges read these comments before they vote for endeavour, and then they show their stick for endeavour, and whatever they're going to vote. Sometimes it's satisfactory, sometimes it's excellent, and when they voted, we then have 3 different votes for each exhibit. For every stand there are 3 different lots of votes, and therefore we add those together. They actually have points attached to them. We add up the points, and that decides which of these medals are going to be issued. And we therefore then have a nice little form which shows how the judges have voted, and that is given to the exhibitors together with the cards when they go out on the exhibit. So the exhibitors will know approximately how the judges have voted.
Can I ask a question there, Bob?
Of course.
With the judging criteria, is it weighted differently? So is it endeavour maybe 15% of the mark, and first impressions another 10%? I mean, is there any part of it that you've got to get right to get the lion's share of the points?
Well, really interesting question, because it's quite controversial. What is the most important part of a display when you look at it? Is it only the plants you're looking at? Is it the whole thing? Should we be recognising in the same proportions what the exhibitors had to do? What we have decided to do on RHS judging is to treat those 3 areas the same, so they're all equal. Now that could be controversial in itself, because some people will believe that we should weight more strongly on plants, and I think maybe we should, but in all the trials and experiments we have done in trying to have a fair judging system, we have decided that by having equal proportions to those 3 aspects, is very important to have good balanced judging and good balanced exhibits. Now, the results, of course, don't always come out with lots and lots of gold medals. And at this show, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. We've got 9 gold medals at this show. That's probably a lower number than we might normally have, and that's mainly due to weather. But we do have a much larger number of silver gilt. The next medal down, there are a much larger number than we would normally have, and that's a pretty clear indication of the type of season we're experiencing. Well, one of the things that I thought I ought to tell you about is some of the little tricks that we do look at quite a lot, that exhibitors do get up to. Not that I'm looking anywhere, of course, but there are a few little things that perhaps we get concerned about. Sometimes it's not maybe you feel right that we should. I'd sort of ask you the question really, if you saw that the flowers on the exhibits you were looking at all had secret little wires going up them to hold them upright, do you think that that's fair, or do you think that's cheating? You're all being very quiet, aren't you?
Cheating. Because we would never do that.
The exhibitor says it's cheating. Sometimes we do see, or we are aware, that wires have been put in plants because we are suspicious that the plants are so good that they couldn't possibly hold themselves up. And I'm going to try and give an example, maybe. Hyacinths are a really good example of flowers that don't stay upright very long in a sort of show condition. And it's quite possible they might have a secret little wire put through the middle to hold them up. And it's quite a matter of judgment as to whether that's permissible or not. What about something which looks as though it's growing and is on display, but actually when you look it doesn't have any roots on it? In other words, it's just been put in the ground. Is that cheating or... Cheating, lots of nods for that. Lots of nods for that. Quite interesting, because we don't actually go and dig up all the plants to check but it does come to our attention sometimes that some plants are not actually grown or growing, they can be just staged. Now, in certain instances, it might be acceptable to do that. Sometimes you might want to show something like a protea flower, and you can therefore quite easily put a protea stem or flower in, and it's not actually growing. And it's quite concerning as to whether we are judging fairly about what's grown or what is looking as though it's grown. So, right, you all thought that would be cheating if you put things in the ground without roots. What about if, when the judges looked at an exhibit, all the leaves are so lovely and shiny that you can almost see your face in them because somebody's been round with a leaf shiner and shined everything up? Do you think that's good practice, or do you think that's cheating? Cheating, I hear. Cheating, or is that all right? I'm going to ask the exhibitors.
I'll tell you why it's all right, because we live in an area where we have a lot of lime in the water and you get residue on the leaf. If you put that in a display, you might as well not bother. It's a bit of leaf shine and it disperses that.
That's craftsmanship, isn't it? It's craftsmanship.
Totally.
So, I don't know if you all heard that, but it's quite interesting. So we've got some of our exhibitors down this end. That's why I'm standing at this end, in case I get things thrown at me. But I was just interested about that, because there are mixed views about it, and what we've just heard is that if the exhibitor is from an area where there's lime in the water, and therefore when you water your plants, the leaves look very stained, when it comes to judging, the judges will mark that down. So it is perhaps permissible in relatively small quantities to make sure the leaves are clean, and to do that you might use some sort of leaf shine. It sort of depends how much you put on. What about using hair lacquer on flowers? Anybody have a view about that? Hair lacquer? They're not guilty down there of any of those practices. I've got to say, it has been done. Let me try you with another then. I'm letting out all these secrets, aren't I? I'm going to be shot afterwards. Matthew's scribbling endless notes here, so he's going to hang me if nobody else is going to. But what about dyeing plants so they're a slightly different colour to what they might be?
Definitely cheating.
No, I hear from a number of you that that's a no-no. You shouldn't do that. That's cheating. But actually, when you buy hydrangeas, that's done all the time. Hydrangeas are the most common plant that has colourant used on them in one shape or form. Blue hydrangeas, pink hydrangeas. Toby, you any experience of this?
Of colouring hydrangeas? Yeah, well, in acidic conditions they're blue, or some varieties are, and in alkaline conditions they're pink, sort of opposite from litmus paper. But is that really cheating, just to sort of perk them up? I mean, because again, there's the idea of, there's the cheating, which I think is if you're guilty if you get caught, i.e. chopping stuff off, because for a lot of the people, again, another thing that goes in the mix for the designers of gardens, I suppose, as well as stands, is you want as little in the ground as possible because it makes it cheaper to build. So you don't really want root trees with massive roots in it. If you could get away with slicing it off, putting it on a peg, I'm sure a lot of contractors would do that because it would be cheaper than digging the hole.
Well, there we are. It's I don't want you to walk around this show, by the way, and think that everything you're looking at is being completely faked, because that is not the case. And actually, 99% of what you see is actually real and genuine. And we've got some really good exhibitors here, represented down the end here by Hootraholics and by Hearts, who are first-class exhibitors and who never cheat at anything. although one of them does put cuddly toys out on the exhibit before it's judged.
Is that a bit like putting coffee on when you've got people viewing your house?
Something like that.
You know.
Is that cheating though?
Yeah.
No, in fact, they're always removed before judging.
And are there any things that you would say that were definite no-nos or things you like when you turn up to judge? Like I'd say about the coffee, but it is that kind of thing. It's a welcome atmosphere. Is there any way you can create that, or if you're putting on an exhibit?
Well, I think all exhibitors would know that one of the things that they do, we start judging very, very early in the morning, but the exhibitors are in here before us, usually, because they want to brush up, tidy up their stand. They want to take away the spiders who might have built webs overnight. Here we've had all sorts of fun. We've had foxes who've managed to pull a whole stand down. Overnight last night, the wind managed to blow and wiped out display of carnations in the marquee next door. So all these little problems happen. But
The Hoover damage we had this morning.
Yeah, you've had wind. Yeah.
Yeah, the Hoover backed into our stand and knocked the ball out.
Oh, the Hoover backed into their stand this morning. See, it all goes on here under the cover of darkness before we're open. But could I just say that one of the things that a lot of exhibitors do, which is perfectly acceptable to make exhibits look nice, they give it a little sprinkle of water before the judges come in. So whichever way you look at the exhibit, it glistens and it looks really, really nice. It catches the light. Every little plant looks as though it's twinkling or winking at you. And when you're like that, you know, we're all very sort of soft-hearted and say, oh, look, that plant's talking to me. It's winking at me, and we've got to give this exhibit a good award. One of the things that judges don't like, by the way, quite interestingly enough, all exhibits use mulch here because that's the way they build up the stands. That's okay, but they're not allowed to use peat because we don't like peat being used at all in the show, so we ban that. But sometimes the bark that's used as a mulch is very, very coarse and is very rough. And when you have coarse bark and dainty flowers, I could give you some examples, but it would be very unfair on the exhibitor's concern. But coarse bark and small flowers don't go together. And what we do, once we've handed these cards out to exhibitors, the chairman of the judging panel comes around and talks to the exhibitor and asks whether they want anything explaining or would explain why the judges came to the decision they came to. Mostly they try to be very, very helpful, and in every case when we decide an exhibit, decide the medal for an exhibit, every panel is instructed to get that medal as high as they possibly can. There can be any number of golds in any RHS show, and what we try to do is encourage exhibitors to all of them. If they all had gold medals, we would be delirious about that. It'd be really, really good news. So we do try, through our chairman, to give that encouragement, to try and point out the things like the coarse bark, which are not good. Other things, like sometimes maybe pests and disease. Sometimes, especially in a show like this, some things have been drawn a little bit because the growers have been so keen to get the plants into the show. They've got drawn and they're slightly chlorotic, they're slightly, you know, the leaves are not quite as dark as they might be, and those are quite common things. I'm very aware that I'm probably told you as many tricks of the trade as I dare tell you. I'm really happy to answer some questions. Toby, I think, may have other questions that he wants to put to me. And failing all other, I know the exhibitors will have even more questions they want to ask me. So I'm very happy to take any questions you have about judging.
How does it work when the judging criteria, obviously, it's like A level, I guess. You need to get to a set. Do they exist anymore? I know I do. But you get to, say, 70%, you get your gold medal. Is that right?
Yes.
But what happens if someone's on 69? Do you look at it again and look at it again?
We have a lot of what we call medals. We call them cuspy medals. great name, isn't it? Cuspy medals. These are medals that are right on the edge of being either one or another. And for example, very often when that happens, we have to go back and look at the criteria. And for example, if you're looking at plants, you could say plants are well grown, but they are either immature or lack freshness. There may be some minimal evidence of pest and disease, and some of the plant associations or the colours require enhancement. Now, that would be a sort of silver medal. So to do better than that, to get a silver gilt medal, you'd have to say that plants are in first-class condition, but are not properly developed, and the representative range of plants could be broader. So you can see it's incremental. It goes up incrementally, and you have to really decide where that sits in there.
Do you get any marks for innovation? Because this is going to be a contentious thing. I mean, some gardens, I can think of some gardens that have been so innovative that there really isn't a benchmark to compare them against. They're so different. I mean, for example, some gardens don't have a lot of plants in them. I mean, that was a trend maybe 10 years ago that started, didn't it?
It's interesting. I think you can look round the marquee just outside here, for example. There's a hostler stand where there's a really great artistic use of the timber work and the pond. Look at Hookaholics, lovely new display that we haven't seen before. And on the judging criteria under Endeavour, judges are able to take account of originality, new ideas, props, and the creativity in the design.
Any other questions? Does anyone here actually fancy having a go at designing or having an exhibit themselves? Is this something? Don't do it! They get the calls from the back here.
Good. Well, thank you very much, everybody, and nice to talk to you. I hope I've enlightened you as you walk around the floor marquee, and I hope you have a slightly better understanding of how we award medals. Thank you.